Welcome to the Why Did I Get Cancer podcast. I'm Deborah Herlax-Enos, a small-town girl turned TV nutritionist and healthy living expert. I design health programs for the average guy or gal, including those average guys named Metallica. On September 1st, 2020, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I asked every oncologist the same question, why did I get cancer? But none of my doctors had good answers for me. I wanted answers, and that's why I started this podcast. I want to help you to lower your cancer risk and provide self-care tips for those in the battle. I'm getting answers, and I want to share them with you. What did I take away from today's episode? So many things. Probably my favorite is to try to get more morning sun. Get up, get outside, and it's a simple ancestral hack that can really help me to sleep better that night because it's going to reset my circadian rhythm. Listen to the rest of the podcast to get more great tips. And I have to say, nourish is probably one of my favorite words because it sounds amazing. You're out in the sunshine. It's like a warm hug with food and lifestyle. So let's talk about some of these ancestral hacks that could protect us not only from cancer, but many other diseases.
Absolutely. So I want to start with the fact that the earth offers us antioxidants. You mentioned earlier grounding, I think, in passing, and I just want to elaborate on that. So we spend our lives insulated from the earth. It's so strange. Our ancestors were barefoot and outside 3/4 of the time, and think about it. We rarely as adults go out barefoot, and 3/4 of the time, at least, we're indoors. We're in these little kind of cages of our own making. And so there is healing that comes from being in nature. Absolutely. Even just seeing trees and birds, that lowers your cortisol level. That's amazing. That's a de-stressor. But putting your feet actually on the ground allows you to absorb the earth's negative charge. And that's a negative charge that can jump onto and attach to the free radicals that can be cancer causing. So every day, if you don't get outside barefoot, which I understand right now it's winter when we're recording this, so you might not want to do that, you can still lean against a tree. You can still find a way to get that earth's energy. It's a free gift and nearly as tasty as berries that also give you antioxidants.
Oh, I love that because I'm a big grounder. Even when we had snow in Seattle a couple of weeks ago and I had COVID, I went outside and it was, 18 degrees and snowing and just walked around my yard for a bit in flip-flops. And then I got a little braver and took my flip-flops off as my husband's in the house laughing and taking pictures. But so I'm a big believer in that, especially after growing up on a little farm in Northern California. I really believe that most of us just don't get outside enough. It's cold, it's this, it's that. We have all kinds of things we can say. But then once you're out there, it's really seconds before you're feeling a little perspective shift.
Absolutely. A friend of mine, Thaddeus Owen, he's the Primal Hacker on Instagram. He says, take a sun break instead of a smoke break. And if you can't possibly be so busy that you can't get outside for 15 minutes. And I'm speaking to myself as well. We just get kind of mesmerized with work at our computers or whatever we're doing. But even if you have like little kids and you're at home, it's like, you can be like, hey, you guys, let's go outside before lunch, 15 minutes. You set the timer. It doesn't have to be long. What are you doing? You're boosting your mood. You're lifting your energy. You're getting the antioxidants from the earth. And the sun is also a nutrient. It actually gives us nourishment. Some people say every human being on the planet is a light eater because think about it. If you eat a carrot, it got sunlight to grow. If you eat a steak, the cow hopefully got out in the sun, and the grass it's eating definitely did. And so it's a converter of that light. So nothing beats getting it directly from the source. So one thing that I do that's an ancestral hack is I definitely make time for more sun during my day, but I also make sure to get the early morning sun, because that sets my circadian rhythm. And so it makes it, first of all, it's like a cup of coffee in a way. It gives me energy. It increases my melatonin production, which helps me sleep more profoundly at night. It can rev your metabolism. It can do all these things. I just want to challenge whoever's listening right now, get outside and try to get that morning sunlight for 2 weeks in a row, and you'll never look back. I used to be, Deborah, a night owl. I was up late at night. Once my kids are in bed, I was like, okay, let me get a few things done on the computer and around the house. You know how you do. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm Superwoman. It's 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I'm still going strong. I did not know that the blue light from my screen was going to my pineal gland and affecting my hormonal production and all the things. And I was getting a second wind because my body thought it was midday because of that light. It didn't realize it was night. So now that I've learned a little bit more about sunlight and its power, I take in less screen light at night, less blue light. I put on my blue blockers or I avoid my phone and my computer so that I'm able to get more profound restorative sleep. And let me just tell you this. I always thought I was getting a good night's sleep. I was like, okay, I was in bed 7-8 hours. Okay, that's, good enough. I didn't know there were stages. And so the depth and that restorative sleep that we need really is a matter of quality, not just quantity. And that is affected by your light exposure. So if you get more sunlight in the morning, more sunlight throughout your day, less artificial light at night, you're bound to sleep better. And as we know, that is also a detoxing system. Sleep is. It's like nature's dialysis, natural dialysis of getting toxins out of the body. And so I really, really recommend those things for better health and better mood and the whole shebang.
Okay, so then are you saying then that if we go out first thing in the morning, maybe you can tell us more about, is it right at sunrise? And then how long do we need to be out there for that to impact our sleep that night?
It's really hard to get up at the minute the sun rises. Well, as a former night owl, I still sometimes I'm like, okay,
it's probably not going to be my cup of tea.
5:30 a.m. That sounds crazy. What I learned from Jack Cruz, the neurosurgeon I was mentioning, and then Thaddeus Owen, they both say, we've become far too comfortable. We're always regulating our homes and our cars to warm us in the winter and to cool us in the summer. And so our bodies don't have to work very hard to keep our core temperature stable. So this may be one environmental factor that could lead to cancer or imbalance in the body, that we're not exposing ourselves to the natural temperature outside. So I'm not saying we should be outside when it's 12 degrees for hours on end, but we can get out there more. So that is one thing that we should do as best we can. But in terms of the morning sunlight, to answer your question, Dr. Jack Cruz and Thaddeus Owen both say, get out within 30 to 45 minutes of sunrise. In other words, the earlier you get out, the better. And do try to look in the direction of the sun. And I know some days it's cloudy or raining. The sun's still there. But yes, I make an effort to get out there. And I have a dog, so that makes it easy. So I get out every morning, and that kind of helps me stick to my plan. And then what I do is I stack my hacks. So I see the sun. So that is setting my circadian rhythm. It's helping boost my metabolism and giving me energy and feeding me in a way. But I also will sometimes in the winter even go out in a tank and shorts because I'm trying to adapt to the cold at the same time. So I'm challenging myself on a lot of different levels, but it's really exciting. If you catch that morning sun, even just for 2 weeks straight, you're going to get hooked. You're not going to look back. I was a night owl and that totally flipped. My husband was astonished. And that was years ago and I'm still going strong. So I thought I couldn't do it, but I guess like with everything, Deborah, like you just take a couple steps in the right direction and then you'll get some momentum. It would be hard to start out of the blue. So maybe you and I can do a little challenge on Instagram or something to get people rolling with it. It really is satisfying. And for those who have young kids and want to get every ounce of sleep they can get, I understand because I've been there before too. But I would just say get out as early as you can in the morning with the kids, make it a little game and say, this is what we do before breakfast, make it a little habit. And then no matter what the weather, they'll also learn to appreciate their own place in this universe, their own connection with nature, which I think is also really helpful for a healthy, balanced life.
I love that. And I think one of the things that so many people do this time of year, millions actually, is we do all these New Year's resolutions and it's lose 20 pounds by Valentine's Day. And we just set the bar so high. So honestly, what you're saying is go outside for probably 5 or 8 minutes, walk your dog, look in the direction of the light, and you'll sleep better that night. So the payoff is huge for this little teeny tiny hack.
And a side Benny could be weight loss. I know some people that all they did was see the morning sun and after a couple weeks they lost weight. So don't change anything. Do it a little experiment on yourself. Don't change anything else but getting that sun and see what happens. I think it's fascinating.
I think it's fascinating too. And again, this is how people lived a long time ago, or if you're currently a farmer or a rancher, this is how you live. You're up early milking cows and doing all the things.
Yep. And just to add one thing. Yeah. So, and what we're trying to do, we know that we live in this modern world and it does have all these toxins and things, but the more natural choices we can make, the better. So this is not going to be injurious in any way that you get the morning sun. It is not injurious to get outside and expose yourself to the cold in short little bits. I started with these shiver walks I've been talking about, and now I jump in ice holes. I'm no Wim Hof, I'm not like that. I don't swim underwater for, minutes on end, but I do enough. So it's a hormetic stressor. It's like working out with a weight, it's challenging for a bit and then I move on and my body is the better for it.
Right. And so not only, is this doing some great things for your body, just again, that being outside, that activity level and connecting with nature just does amazing things for your head. I never feel so good as when I'm outside.
I know. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It is such a natural healing modality that doesn't cost a thing and it's right outside your door.
It doesn't cost a thing. And again, as you mentioned, so many of us stay in all day long. And I think in this season we've been in for the last 2 years of isolation, it's made it even easier to stay inside because people are really scared to go outside.
They are. And just as you said, it reduces our stress level. It is healing. Being with people is the same thing. So I think that's been an unfortunate recommendation that's been made. That's not something that has been necessarily enforced in the U.S. In terms of getting together with other people, but people have voluntarily chosen to stay separated from one another. And I'm afraid that it's, actually, I know, I'm not even just afraid. It's affecting our mental health and our physical health as well. So to the degree that we can and people are willing to, I suggest 2 things. One is turning off the TV, getting out in nature, and the second would be connecting with a neighbor or friend. It is vital. Bruce Lipton, who I've interviewed on the podcast, I think he's the author of The Biology of Belief. He talks about how we're like little batteries and we get energy from one another. Like I am more energized right now, Deborah, because I'm talking to you, than I would be if I was just answering emails or doing anything else. This connection now, this is virtual, but it's still, it's second best to being together in person, so there's still something positive happening here. So like I said, to the degree that you're willing to look for ways to connect with other people, because this is something our ancestors had that helped them remain in good health. I have a little COVID story to tell, if I can tell real quick.
Absolutely.
Deborah, I was in Ecuador in June and July, and I got to be a part of this amazing Inti Raymi festival. It's a tradition going on for centuries, if not millennia, for these Quechua people. And this community gets together. They celebrate the sun. It's almost like a Thanksgiving thing. They have a big meal in their plaza together in their various communities. And to make a long story short, I was talking with one of the women, Christina, there in the community. And she said, pretty much in June of 2020, a lot of community members got sick with COVID. And she said, what we did was a bunch of the women and I got like 20 medicinal plants and we took them to each family. And she said, no one was hospitalized and no one died. And my first reaction was, can I see the list of those plants?
No kidding.
But then I realized, look at the context in which those plants were given. They were given in the context of community and love and support. Like that's what we need. Maybe those medicinal plants were also local to Ecuador, so they're probably perfect for those people. Right. But maybe if I gave you a box of chocolates and I gave it to you in the context of love and community, that would do you as much good.
I agree. And so fascinating how important community was during that season. Even though people might have been nervous or concerned or scared, they still really went after community.
They did, absolutely. And nature. I interviewed Mama Rosita, who was this healer midwife woman from that same community, Santa Barbara. And she said, you know what, Hilda, I got COVID and I was in the hospital and I was in a pretty bad shape. She said I had an IV in my arm and, they were kind of shaking their heads at me, the doctors and stuff. And she actually is a midwife that works at this hospital. But she said to herself, do I want to die here or at home? And she was like, at home. She pulled the IV out. She went home. But not only did she return to her community, she went outside. She said, Hilda, I heard the birds singing. I went out in the forest. She did drink some soups, okay? But she recovered. And I think it was that connection to community and nature that really helped her through.
Wow. So powerful. So powerful. And we've lost that. I mean, not all of us, but a good amount of us have really lost, I think, feeling peaceful in a community. And I know at the beginning of COVID, I was very concerned. When I grew up, I had asthma. And so I was very concerned. I watched way too much news and I really reduced my exposure dramatically. And I kind of had a little quarantine pod of a couple of neighbors. But, we all have our way we handle things, and I'm doing things differently now. But I really missed my community, and I feel like it impacted my health.
Yes. And now I've been around some people recently, Deborah, who were like, oh, like they're shocked when they see people. And
Really?
I'm like, I don't think it was meant to be like that. So you said we've lost, and then you've corrected yourself and you've said some of us have lost. I think it's right at our fingertips. It's really right next door. And again, I'm not trying to hug people that don't want to be hugged or be with people who don't want to be with me. Okay, fine. But anyone who's willing, I'm ready, because I think it is so positive for our bodies to have that exchange of DNA. I think one scientist recently saying, you're actually hurting me by staying away from me because I need to have that exchange of the biome, the viral and the microbiome that surround each of us. Your particular, layers of bacteria and such on your body benefit mine. We are only stronger because of our exchanges. So that's how I see it. So anyone who's willing, Holistic Hilda gives hugs. Let me just say that.
So why did I get cancer? Come on over, line up, because I'm a hugger and I really missed it in the last 2 years. So isolation has not been good for us. And I'm just wondering, are we going to see higher disease rates of all diseases, including cancer, in the next couple of years?
Well, you know what? As you and I have been talking, I'm very aware too that mindset makes a difference. Positivity makes a difference. So I'm not going to speak that over us, so to speak. I believe people who choose to ignore ancestral wisdom may find themselves with compromised health. I don't wish that for them, but I've learned too much, Deborah, to go back to how I used to live. It was cereal for breakfast and, not really TV at night. I've never been a TV girl, but, go on the computer at night. In other words, making choices that weren't best for my body, even though I was an exercise professional. So I was teaching exercise classes 3 times a week, but I'd burn the candle at both ends. I didn't pay attention to my sleep. I did some things right. I'm not trying to make it like I was a horrible person. But the point is, if you are on a journey where you're covering your ears and closing your eyes to natural ways to support your health, you may end up in a diseased or imbalanced position. But if you listen to your body and listen to the wisdom of the ancestors, get outside, connect with community, nourish yourself as best you can, then you're going to have a much better outcome. And even if, just like you are living proof, Deborah, of this, even if you do have some sickness or disease that comes upon you, you will be more able to fight it and to cultivate health because you've been involved in these healthy habits that our ancestors were so, attuned to.
Right. And I was reading an article yesterday, and this person was saying, your immune system isn't like a little piece of tissue paper where it's fragile. It's actually quite strong, but we do need to do some things to cultivate it.
Yes, I saw that too. And the person who posted that mentioned sleep and sunlight and probably food. I don't remember all the things. He mentioned 4 things, but absolutely. Given the right tools, for example, or the right fuel, your car is going to go strong for a long time, but you need to fill the tires with air and put the right fuel in the engine and change the oil periodically, right? So the same thing, our health is too precious to throw by the wayside. And people who have survived cancer and patients who are going through it right now are more aware of that than ever. Fantastic. Right. Use that kind of natural wake-up call to realign so that your body can be the healthiest it can be.
And I love the way you end your Wise Traditions podcast. So I'm going to use that same question, throw it back to you. If there's one thing somebody could do today to really boost their immune system to either fight disease or just achieve more balance in their body, what would it be?
It has to be gratitude. It has to be to develop a habit of gratitude. I have a little journal. Every morning I write down 3 or 4 simple things I'm thankful for. And I don't write them down in generalities, Deborah. I'm specific, like for the bird that I saw on the branch as I was walking my dog, for that amazing dinner last night with Amelia, and so forth. I'm very specific because the more specific, the better. It's not just a general gratitude. It's a very specific gratitude. And science has shown that our brain's wiring changes with gratitude. It's just a way to get your mind and your spirit and your body aligned with what there is to be thankful for. And so you are, in that small gesture of gratitude, you're cultivating health and you're making this world a better place to be in for those around you as well.
Oh my gosh, I love the way you said that, because I will think about gratitude, but maybe once a week I'll write something down. So you write down what you're grateful for daily.
Yep, every day. And
Okay.
I think I was inspired by an author who wrote a book called 1,000 Gifts, Anne Voskamp, I think it was. And
I think I read that years ago.
it's a beautiful little book. And she talked about being grateful for the bubbles when she was washing the dishes from the soap. It was just so sweet. And so now I'm on gratitude number like 3,900 and something. It's really fun. And so I have a whole journal full of things I'm thankful for. And Deborah, if I could finish with this, let me just say, I even write down things that you don't think I should be thankful for, that one would think, why would she write that down? A young man I love passed away recently. I wrote it down by faith that somehow, first of all, I'm grateful for his life, but that somehow his death taught me something about life, and maybe even if it's only how precious it is and how I need to value it and hug people more. He was a big hugger. He had Down syndrome. He didn't stop hugging anyone, and he was also himself. I learned so many lessons, but I write down things that are hard too, because somehow I have to believe there is something that I can grow and learn from in the circumstance, much like you with your cancer.
Right, because I am grateful for it. So I couldn't agree more. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Hilda and her amazing podcast, Wise Traditions. I never miss an episode. I binged listened while I've been out in my garden. And anyway, I just want to thank you for coming on. Why Did I Get Cancer? I feel like I learned a lot. I can't wait to just unpack this. And speaking of gratitude, I'm just so grateful, and to be specific, grateful for your amazing energy. And I know you can't see Hilda, but she's got the most incredible megawatt smile that just makes me happy. So thank you for coming on the show.
It has really been a joy, Deborah. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. One of my favorite supplement companies is Seeking Health. This company was created by Dr. Ben Lynch, author of Dirty Genes. I'm a huge fan, and one of the products that I love so much that he's created is this liquid vitamin D. My body has a hard time breaking down supplements, so I love the flexibility of having liquid vitamins. And I started this product a few weeks ago. I went to get my vitamin D tested, and it had gone up significantly. So I was thrilled with the results. So use the code ENOSJAN22 for 10% off your order. I love wearing my wireless headphones. They're so convenient, but I am concerned about wearing them for too long. There are native EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, that come from the sun or the earth, and then there are non-native, which come from cell phones, earbuds, electric blankets, just to name a few. I don't know about you, but I don't want high levels of EMFs around my body, and certainly not my head. A few months ago, I saw an ad pop up on social media about a product called Wave Block. This company created an anti-radiation sticker that deflects the majority of EMFs that are emitted by my earbuds. I was so intrigued that I actually called the owner of the company. We had a great conversation, and I asked him some tough questions about his product. I walked away won over by his enthusiasm and his story of why. When I asked him why he created this product, his answer was to protect his kids that were surrounded by EMFs all day long. I feel like I can now wear my Wave Block protected earbuds all day, since 95% of the EMFs are deflected. In today's show notes, I have a coupon for 20% off of Wave Block. Use the code ENOS20 when you purchase your Wave Block products. Thank you for joining me today on the Why Did I Get Cancer podcast. I've got my shopping guide for all of my cancer self-care items in the show notes, along with information about today's guest and our show sponsors. And don't forget to subscribe to my podcast so you never miss an episode. Keep in mind, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a gal that got diagnosed with cancer and wanted answers. If you need medical advice, please be sure to consult with a medical professional. And thank you for listening.